Aloha, everyone. I'm Jason Schwartz, your host at the Neutral Zone, MauiNeutralZone.com. Normally, we're at KAKU 88.5 FM on Mondays, but because there are only a little time before the primaries, I thought to go in the field and see people at large so we can get all these shows up there. In fact, Stevie, you don't have this. I'm with Stevie Chung.
Hello,
Stevie
hi.
Chung is running for council
Yes.
in
Haiku,
Haiku,
Makawao, and
Makawao,
Paia.
and Paia. But
Yeah.
that, to all of you listening, let me share with you. They live in those districts, but all of us are represented by all the people on council. And no matter where you are in all the islands of Maui County, you can vote for Stevie Chung. That's the key. We all vote
The
for all
goal.
council seats. So this is for you, Maui County.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have a primary race because in your race, the only other person is
Right.
Ooh Hodgins.
Correct.
So you might want to do this later in the season also.
Yes.
But here early on, I thought it was a good idea to come out and meet candidates and
Yeah. While I'm sliding under the radar,
well,
for the primaries,
well,
being able to.
that's a very good thing. But
Mhm.
it also means you're not getting the chance to easily put your message out. And for someone that's not yet known, doing it early, that was my thinking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay? So thank you for being with me.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Give me an idea about your background a little bit and what drove you to want to run for council here.
Well, okay. So my background, for starters, is I moved to Maui from Arizona when I was 18 years old to pursue just the art, my transition, just anything that my soul's journey wanted me to be carried on. I tried to live very quietly, tried to stay out of the limelight, really just kind of be in my own little world, focus on myself and focus on the things in my life that made me happy. The issue is that as time went on, a lot of the things that used to bring me joy, a lot of the art that I used to use, interior design, sewing, whatever it is, I started to kind of lose motivation for it because of the things that are happening systemically on island. And so I felt like in order for me to be able to have more of that drive, to be able to put more of my attention and more of my joy into the things that I used to love doing, first I kind of have to pay attention to what's going on around the island, to our community and the people around us, to be able to, you know, help everybody's cortisol levels drop for a little bit.
Yep, you guys that know what cortisol levels are.
They are the stress chemicals in our brain.
There you go.
And they can be brought about through a lot of different ways. And unfortunately, when we're living in an affordability crisis, that's something that can be spiked up in a lot of people. And where a lot of people are just stressed out about things, whether it's wastewater, whether it's, the affordability of housing, the ability to afford land ownership, to afford a farm, to run a local business. All of these things are things that we're kind of struggling to be able to maintain, and it's caused everybody to suffer. And that's something that I want to be able to help change. I want to be able to be a part of that shift so that we can all be in a good headspace where we can focus on the things that we love and the things that bring us joy instead of the things that are stressing us out the most.
Yeah. So I'm going to put you on council here. Boom, you're on council.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Any issues that you would like to focus on and create specific change, or
There's a number of them. I would say, the first person to reach out to me when I said I'm running for council and what are the issues that are facing our community that are major, one of the first people to reach out to me was Travis Liggett. If it wasn't for me, he wouldn't actually be running for mayor right now, but we had these conversations over and over where it's like these things are real problems and none of the politicians currently seem to be addressing them. And if you really want to get that platform and get out there and get people to understand that our wastewater management system is not functioning properly in order to keep us on the island and the tourists safe and every other living animal in the ocean or in the Aina, it's just to be able to filter wastewater, to be able to manage it in a way so that refuse isn't just being spilled out into the ocean. That's a very
well,
important.
it's alleged that it is clean enough to be spilled out into the ocean. But
But they had to take that to Supreme Court in order to make that point. Like the fact that they had to go to such great lengths to say that they have the right to pollute just doesn't really seem like an
well,
ethical thing to
and
do.
they would like to tell you that they're not polluting, but like you say, I also spoke to Travis, and it sure seems that there's an issue.
The major issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, they can say that they're not polluting all that they want, but I mean, there's been research, there's been studies, there's been statistics and measurements of the effluent that is being poured into the ocean. And so it's all there, it's all on paper. So as much as they want to say that they're not doing damage, as much as they want to say that they're not polluting the ecosystem, it's very much happening. It is very much a problem, and it's something that we have to take responsibility for in order to make positive change towards it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hit me with something else.
Sure. So there is a major problem that we have with homeless people right now. We have thousands of people who are living in the wilderness from child to elder. And a big part of this has been affordability, the ability for people to have families be able to be in homes where they can afford to live and afford to, run their lives and be able to just exist in the world. We don't have any housing outside of like a single person unit that can be qualified under Section 8.
So it keeps us in splintered community. Have you thought of any different ways that we might be able to address this? Is that
Well, a major part for me would be that if there's an apartment structure that has the intention of being affordable housing, but nothing that they do is functional under Section 8 because people still can't afford to live in these units, those specific units need to be rent capped. If that is their specific goal, is to be affordable, those units that are made to help housing and are made with the promise of affordability, they need to hold true to their end of the deal. Another part of it is also taxing, the hyper wealthy, the people who, own major parcels of land who don't really have any sort of intention of leasing it out or having people rent from them or being able to provide or contribute anything to society other than just their own land ownership, whatever it is that profits them and contributes to them as a whole. They need to be able to do more for the community. And for that, I think that we should be taxing them just a little bit more in order to kind of account for a lot of the cost for these things.
I see.
I also feel like, there's a lot of people who are unhoused and unsheltered who are voluntarily that way and want to either, live out of their car or out of a tent, and we don't really have any spaces to accommodate for that. Our council is talking right now about trying to find a way for people to park their cars and, camp overnight in these vacant parking lots and being able to, have somewhere to stay overnight, but then during the daytime, they're not supposed to be there. They're supposed to have somewhere else to go. And so we still have to work on different things that we can do to account for these people that are not just, getting all of their things scooped up off of the road, tossed into a dump where they have to start over from scratch and then move them somewhere else where it's not
or
inconvenient.
put it all in their car and in the morning have to move it and then drive around all day and then get back to another temporary for the night thing.
Exactly. Yeah. People just
that's
should
just
be
a
able
temporary
to
solution.
settle down where they are without the fear of authorities coming and taking that away from them.
And there have to be spaces like that.
Absolutely.
I know.
100%.
Okay. So the things that you're thinking of doing, I'm always wondering, we know that in your district, the young lady that's there is still fairly new at this. She's not a long-time veteran. Any things that you're seeing, if I would say, any differences you're noting that people might watch for and understand?
The thing is that Nohei is a very kind person. She's very nice and very enjoyable to be around. It's not so much her stances and her positions as much as it is her affiliations. She is somebody who's referred to as daughter of the Carpenters Council, of the union. And what comes through that has been a lot of her making approvals for a lot of different developments that aren't necessarily beneficial to the locals as much as it is for, benefiting hotel industries and tourism and things of that nature. So that, her family and the people that are associated with them can make benefits off of getting the work done, being able to have those contracts and be able to legally just continue to build and continue to construct so that they can just keep making money off of it, rather than trying to focus on whether or not each building is actually constructive or moving towards a common goal that the people of the community have.
So you'd like to be that fresh, more independent voice.
Absolutely.
I see.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
How you like this campaign trail?
I mean, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of getting to know people, getting to know more about what other people have issues with on the island, and it's been very eye-opening. It's been really, it's just been life-changing in a way where you kind of volunteer for a lot of things and you meet a lot of people and you have a lot of different experiences that are attached to the campaign trail where you just learn like, oh my gosh, I am capable of more than I even thought that I was. It's actually helped build confidence in a way that I didn't expect it to.
I was going to say, they say council is a part-time job, which I think is a little bit laughable, if not
Yeah.
totally laughable.
No.
It's a full-time job, and they're being
Yes.
paid a full-time salary.
Oh,
So,
and it keeps getting higher, it seems. So it's a little crazy.
well, if you're on council, it's not that crazy. But if you're not on council, like you say, in my view, people at large are struggling, and
Yeah.
many more people are hand to mouth from each paycheck.
And I don't know if you know
Or
this,
paycheck.
but there's over 600 vacant positions in our county as of right now. And the Salary Commission just a few weeks ago tried to pull another stunt of raising everybody's salary. And their argument was, oh, because we have so many vacant positions, there's so much money that would be going to payroll that we could just give to ourselves. And so these mentalities that they're having are not really guided towards community or towards trying to fix any problems. I mean, we have thousands of people here that are on unemployment that if you enroll them into a county job, they'd have to accept it because that's how unemployment works. You offer them a job, they can't really say no to it. So we could be filling all these positions, but they want to keep it close. They want to keep it, small. And I don't really like their reasonings behind it. It just doesn't seem like it's very beneficial to the community as a whole.
Okay. Have you had conversations with, I guess you've spoken to some of these people when you're going on the circuit, but have you spent much time at the council and watched what they do and stuff like that?
I have, and I've been watching, I have like just at the bottom of my phone on my main home screen, I have Maui stream so I can like keep track of everything that's going on and keep tabs on
Thank
everything.
you, Akaku.
Thank you, Akaku.
That's
Seriously,
right.
thank you guys,
Big-
because if it wasn't for them, I mean, like, how else would I be getting my information? How much would I
All
be
of
able
us.
to be keeping this all
There's
in?
another subject right there, Akaku.
Mm-hmm.
Many people know that after the fire, Akaku lost, I don't know, a couple thousand and plus
Hundreds of thousands.
of customers, and so based their revenue, a lot of it is based on the customers of Spectrum, and their budget, along with other things done at the
Right.
PUC, has been reduced.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the county chipping in somehow to?
I feel like the county should be chipping in because this is stuff that is making, our government and everything that happens within it more accessible to public viewership.
And
so-
accountable because of that.
Exactly. It helps a lot with accountability. And, Spectrum, they're questionable in their beliefs and in their methods and all of the things that they're trying to pull. I had spoken with Chivo Ching not too long ago about what was going on with Spectrum and how they owe them hundreds of thousands of dollars that they're just not giving them, just because they're basically like, well, we don't have to, so we're not going to. That's basically their mentality about it.
Yeah, and I don't really know what we can do except supplement until we can find another way to fund public access television.
Absolutely.
But I'm with you. I've been doing public access for 30, God knows, years. And I think it's really super important that this message gets out. It's not filtered and cut and all the things that happen.
Yeah.
What other things, when I think about running for council, I know that you have to work well with others?
Absolutely. Well, I would say my charisma stats are pretty high. I would say that I'm pretty good at making good conversation with people and keeping things cordial. There are definitely, I mean, limits to anyone's emotions, and I feel like I can definitely be emotional at times when it comes to serious issues. I mean, like, I've cried over the homelessness, I've cried over trafficking, I've cried over, you know, a lot of those very dark subjects that are just really hard hitting. And if you catch me at a time where I'm very high emotions, that's gonna come out. Like, I'm gonna be real about that. But when it comes to communicating it, I'd say that I'm still at least a B to A plus, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, we could talk about little issues like speed bumps that they're not, they're big at current, but
Speed bumps,
I
speed
think about
humps, lovely lady lumps.
water, way of rerouting things down the mountain so
Yeah.
Kihei doesn't get flooded
Right.
again and again and again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very stewardship forward. I believe that giving the community the right and say in how the nature of the Aina is handled is important, especially when it comes to the water table. I think the commodification of natural resources is a huge scam. Personally, I just think that it's not right for people to say that something that is brought on by the earth is something that we have to claim and make it a privilege for people to be able to have access to rather than a right.
Like water, you're talking.
Precisely, precisely. Yes. And there's a lot of weird stuff that's going on with water on island. You know, with the drought that's hitting the west side, they're trying to come now for the east side and go into Haiku and get into the water table there. And they're not doing anything to even make sure that the water there is safe. They haven't put in a deep enough monitoring well to see if there's any pollutants in the water, anything that they need to filter out for or check for. All they want to do is just conveniently place a well there, run it to the south of the island, and just let it be whatever it is without really looking deeply into the infrastructure or how it's going to be put.
Well, I have a feeling that after this election season, the issue of water is going to be on a lot of people's minds.
I think it should be.
You know, when I sat with Travis and he talked about the wastewater problem,
Yes.
and I saw a friend of mine who got the same thing from the water after the flood,
Yeah.
that really concerns me.
Yes, absolutely.
And also that we don't seem to, you know, because of these 2-year election cycles, for some reason, I don't feel the momentum happening at council. What other issues are important to you that you'd like to address first? I mean, I'm just trying to think. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Oh, sure.
And I'm asking questions. I'm just thinking the general things. I think of the county as custodians of the services to run the island, right?
I take the title of public servant very literally. I mean, I'm 27 years old. I think that, you know, as a Gen Z, we kind of view jobs as like things where we're just fulfilling tasks that are asked of us and just functioning on executive function, where we just kind of do things that are required of us and then just meeting that requirement. And so the idea of politics and people who are committing fraud or taking advantage of their positions to uplift themselves financially or, you know, use it to leverage other things through business or through home ownership and whatever else, it's just very foreign to me. To me, I feel like this job would just be me literally following through with the things that people are asking us to do as a community and moving forward with that as if it were just a regular, like any other position, you know? But as far as issues are concerned, I think that another one is definitely island
Thank you.
restoration. Thank you so much. Island restoration, you know, we have such an issue with drought, and yet so little has been done to restore forests and reforest those areas where moisture can be held into the ground for, like, you know that a kukui tree can hold water into the ground for 25 years before it actually goes into the water table?
Wow. I had no idea.
Yeah, so like planting natives back onto the island can actually do a lot with the drought and a lot with flood mitigation and a lot with just, you know, handling forms of natural disaster that it seems like we're not ready for because we've spent so much time paving over things and mowing stuff down And it really didn't help that we had a plantation culture where like we had all of this cane grass, like all this sugar cane that we were growing that just burned up into flames. Like they just abandoned it, left it to dry, and let us handle the problems, let us handle the fire. We have a lot of that going on. And don't even get me started with Peter Martin.
Well, Peter Martin's an issue for you?
Well, had it not been for him leaving a lot of that land that he owns in Lahaina, not as much would be burned up. The fires, from what I heard, had started in that area and had taken off, and that's when it really started to spread out.
Well, Peter Martin was a teacher, I think, before he got into this big real estate thing.
Yeah.
Land management and taking care of that stuff, almost, I would think, should be sort of passed from owner one to owner two. The owners before, from what I understand, were very good custodians of the land there and really knew what to do. In fact, at the Pioneer Mill, we talked to a couple of the workers, and they had a whole plan. That was part of their plan. So when Peter Martin took over and did development, you're right, being closer custodians of the land. Really, I think we all kind of watching that now.
Yeah.
You're going up the back road to Kula, when you see both sides of the road and the grass grows so high that it pushes everyone toward the center. So you have two people trying to go on either side, and they're both sort of coming toward the center. Danger zone.
Very much.
So,
very much.
And I also found it always interesting to see that the spraying of the Hana Highway with Roundup.
Oh boy.
Well, people come on
we went
vacation
there
to see
now,
and they see the whole area sprayed like that.
And it was baffling to me as a teenager when all of the fight against Roundup and Monsanto was going on, and how everybody all the way from like a county level had established that like we need to have not just stopping the growth of GMO crops, but the regulation therein. Just regulating to make sure that what they're growing is safe for people, make sure that the pollen that's going into the air is not like getting into people's lungs and causing them to have whatever infection that it might be causing them to have because of the treatments of these plants. And we had a judge, and I feel like this judge, we all knew this judge had stocks in Monsanto. They had benefits when they said that it was, and I can't remember the name of the judge right now, but I know for a fact that the judge said that it was unenforceable to regulate GMO and regulate pesticides, when it's already been proven false because we've had other counties, other states, other shires, full-on countries like Mexico that have gone as far as to ban Roundup altogether. It's enforceable. It's something that we absolutely can enforce. So what the judge said was completely false.
And you probably heard the 200,000 lawsuits against Bayer and Monsanto. The Supreme Court decided to throw that out. So there are hundreds of thousands of people.
Right. Well, the Supreme Court cares about people. Why would they do that? I don't understand.
I do.
Really? Tell me more.
Who got those people in there? Trump?
Yeah.
If you look at the vote, you see why. I think that's why. And also, the executives, I in fact think it was Chief Justice Roberts used to be an executive at Monsanto.
Yeah. It's a lot of that. It's a lot of corporates making deals with politicians and a lot of that mess.
But you're right. I feel like locally we can put up our own defenses and say, not here.
Absolutely.
Like the thing about the police and the cooperation with ICE, you probably know that one.
Yes, I've been asked about it by a civil beat even. They asked me what my thoughts were on ICE and being able to kind of work with them. And while I didn't say their name directly, what I did say is that cooperating with a fascist regime does not sound like the most fun. That's just all I'm going to say about that.
And I think some of these issues, they're more like common sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
I try not to think about the federal thing, but it seems to be a limiting factor on some of the things, like when we had passed remember that one about GMOs? And we passed it here locally, and then they said, oh, that's not controlled by counties. That control is by the state. No, it's not. It's by federal.
Right.
And so we were outdone by the way the priorities of the laws go.
And the thing is that if we had federal leadership that actually had any sort of motivations towards caring for the general population, I'd be all for it. I'd be like, you know what, you guys know what's best. But they've proven decade after decade that that's not the case and that we're all just commodities to them. So I don't really see where, when they try to impose their reasonings and their force, like their enforcements on people, why they should, like why they should be able to. I mean, like I had to pledge going into this whole thing not to accept money from corporate PACs and from, you know, billionaire nonprofits, because we're in a system that thrives on that runs on that entirely. And so it's really uncool to me to think that I had to sign that pledge because it is a problem, instead of it just being by default like, hey, no, that's just not something that we can legally do. That's not something that's okay. But instead, we in the 70s made that shift so that we can do the Citizens United, you know, poll and let corporations just run amok in our politics.
And again, recent Supreme Court ruling that opened the door to more of that.
Of course.
Meanwhile, our governor here and the state here
Yep.
said just the opposite.
Right.
Isn't that funny?
No,
Not
and it's
that
good.
funny. I
I'm
agree.
proud of us for that. I'm glad that we're in that side of history, because this is going to blow over as one of the most disgusting and like abhorrent corruptions that has ever crossed, you know, our country. It's absolutely vile.
Well, I hope that, I mean, here we go. I hope we can make some changes at a federal level myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
Well, I've seen this present council got rid of the Climate Resilience and Environment Committee. Gone.
They've gotten rid of a couple of committees.
Really critical things that I wonder about.
And some of the reasonings behind it are because, oh, we haven't had enough people showing up to the meetings in order to reach a quorum. In which case it's like, so what you're telling me is that because you guys aren't showing up, that we suddenly just don't have this happening because you guys aren't putting enough of your time and energy into it.
Well, I think that was a major mistake.
Major, absolutely.
I mean, when we think of all the problems that are happening, like how do we deal with coastlines? How do we deal with the people that say, well, I'm going to use it now and to heck with the next generation? There are a lot of those people. I didn't think it. Anyway, there are a lot of those people around.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And they span across the entire nation. It's
I just
an
think we
epidemic.
really need to draw a line in the sand here. Literally, we'll draw a line in the sand and say no.
Right.
But when we get rid of a committee that's focused on all that stuff, and where, you know, I thought that was an important enough issue to have a committee.
There's a few,
And if there's got to be a quorum, then either you show up or you've got to figure out a way to make things more, you know, you hear it all the time. Oh, this one was excused and that one was excused. I know that Ellie Cochran must have some excuse on a state level, but when you don't go to 60% or 80% of the meetings, something's wrong there.
I know, yeah. I mean, like, I don't drive and I'm gonna make something work. You know, I've been showing up to these events, meeting people, shaking hands. I've made it work. So if you're somebody who like fully has a vehicle and is able to take yourself to these places and you're just opting not to because it feels like an option for you, that's a little strange to me. Absolutely.
If you don't win, what do you think's going to happen next for you?
I think what's going to happen next for me is that I'm going to continue doing work at the Coastal Refuge in Wailuku and working on the medicine farm there. I think I'm going to still continue. If Justin doesn't happen to get elected, you know, he and I'm definitely going to be riding his coattails on a couple of the things that he's doing to help people, feeding people, cleaning up the community, cleaning up the streets. It's just, when I went into this, I was so reclusive and fearful because I was brought up in this society where everybody around me wanted to tell me who I should be and the kind of life that I'm supposed to live. And so I lived very quietly, avoiding people and getting away from that. But now I've, coming into this election and going into this campaign, I've met so many people who work for so many different nonprofits and things that actually like contribute so much to our community and to our society and to the regeneration of the island that it would be like, and I got free rides to it too. Like they'll drive me, we'll carpool. So like it's all there for me to be able to do now. I just feel like so many doors have opened up since starting this election. It just feels like my life
Good.
is completely pivoted in a whole other direction.
Well, that's a great thing.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Any issues that you'd like to focus on? And, I don't generate them. I'm thinking about any issues you'd like to work on. I mean, generally, someone that's thoughtful and caring and knows how to read and think.
Sure. Yeah.
You're a good candidate for council here.
Thank you. I appreciate
Any
it.
things that I guess we've kind of covered a lot of areas. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to
I think
want to make room for
one other thing that I would probably love to talk about is
Yeah.
the farming laws that we currently have here on island in the county. I feel like a lot of what we have right now on paper is plantation oriented. And I think that that's very outdated. We've had a few farmers, I've talked to a few of them that have mentioned that modern farming infrastructure is not being accommodated through these laws, and that we need to do some updates in order for them to feel like they're able to kind of run their farms on a level that's not so rigid and confining.
I don't understand exactly.
Well, okay. So for example, there are, like, if you have a food forest and you're growing grapefruits, but they're not all in a row, technically that wouldn't constitute as like farmland or like farming.
So in other words,
You'd have to
someone
be
that
in
says,
rows. You
if
have
we
to, yeah.
grow everything,
Mhm.
then our soil will stay balanced.
Mhm.
So we're growing, that's what you mean by a food forest rather than onions forever.
Right, like rows and like plantations, like where people are able to grow whatever it is that they want, whether it's like breadfruit, native plants, or if it's like other forms of agriculture. If you're not following a rigid structure in how you are planting, then your agricultural lot may not be considered for certain coverages, certain things that are like, advocating for them. I can't
I
remember
see.
the
In
exact
other
term, but
words,
yeah.
they're not considered a farm.
Basically, yeah.
And so, for example, if you went to to try to get a farm loan, you might run into an issue.
Yeah, a grant or a tax write-off, whatever it is, if you're not following a rigid structure of plantation agriculture, you're at risk of not reaping some of those benefits, even if you're planting as much or more. So,
Well, I remember years ago when they talked about property that was residential, and to become ag, you had to have an active farm on property. And people would plant coconut trees along the edge of their property and call that their active farm. And it got
Right.
approved.
yeah. Yeah, it's
It's
so
that kind of
cool
stuff.
that people can just, there's so many loopholes for it, for people to just kind of like get away with having a residential lot with just like a couple of, coconut trees and whatever, while still having it marked as an ag lot. And yet when there's people who are actually trying to do the thing and trying to do farming infrastructure and trying to like turn their agricultural lots into an actual farm, there's more things that they have to jump through than it would be for people who are just like, oh, coconuts in a row. Just like that.
Right, I got you.
Yeah,
The hoops you got to jump through
absolutely.
to do it.
Yeah, 100%.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's definitely
What
a lot
am
of
I leaving out that, I mean, the most important part of this that I think is
yeah.
giving you a chance to talk about what you want to talk about. Because I can ask questions.
I feel like you've given me a lot of opportunities because your questions kind of segue into exactly what it is that we want to talk about.
Okay.
So I say that, your 30 years have definitely paid off for sure.
Well, but it's also gotten me a lot discouraged. We have a housing problem that we talked about 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 30 years ago, and we have it now, and it's bigger than ever.
Yeah.
And like we say, now prices are higher, so the low-income people, shouldn't have been low income, but it seems to be low income here.
The class separation is becoming further and further as time goes on.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no bootstraps with which the Gen Z can be pulling themselves up by at this point, because there's so much where people in my generation are struggling to even aspire to live alone in an independent space, because even that's too expensive for them now.
Yeah.
You know, we used to, back in like the 70s, people would only have like roommates throughout college. Now we have people that are well into their 30s and their 40s that are now sharing spaces with people because they can't live independently. They
Oh,
can't
yeah.
afford to.
Sure, a lot of it. And a lot of the owners have all kinds of renters in their homes
Yep.
to be able to pay the mortgages that used to be. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Never buy a place that your payments are more than 1/3 of your income.
Yep.
And now people
30%.
that sure
30% of
doesn't
your
exist
check is
anymore.
going to rent. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I know Amy had actually informed me about the rent burden, but that was so. It's so ridiculous, because at this point it's like, what are we trying to keep afloat? What are we trying to protect? And it's like every time you ask that question, it always seems like the lowest common denominator is always the money. It's always, you're trying to protect the money. You're trying to protect corporations. You're trying to protect big businesses, because if they go under, then like, where am I going to get my money from? So like we have to let everything happen at the expense of the people who are trying to make a living here and survive, in order to keep these businesses afloat and keep things that are like functioning. It just, it doesn't make any sense to me. None of it makes sense.
Well, well, some of those things are going to be state decisions and things
sure.
that'll be out of your control.
Oh, sure.
But you feel that being on council is a good place to be.
And it's a good place to start too. I would go for higher positions if A, there weren't like age caps, and B, if, I wasn't going into this basically like a stranger. I have to be able to prove to people what I'm able to do for the community, what I'm willing to do for the community, and how I'm willing to do it. And so to start off and be like, oh, I'm going to start running for mayor, as somebody who doesn't really have that long of a sheet or like a repertoire outside of my own personal hobbies, crafts, and like personal renovation endeavors and
Right.
stuff.
You see people running for mayor that you wonder what kind of experience can they have had
Exactly.
to suddenly go in to run this kind of an organization.
Yeah.
From nothing.
And so running on a council level, it made sense to me because, I can learn some of the ropes. I can understand while having a team around me and have, more of a group consensus, but it still gives me the opportunity to use my legislative and voting power to advocate for the people. And so it helps me to at least get a little bit further in the direction that I want to go in order to help the community.
Well, all you out there, I hope you've had a nice time here sitting with Stevie Kathryn Chung. On the ballot, you're Stevie Chung. How are you listed on the ballot?
It's going to be Stevie Kathryn Chung on that ballot.
Okay.
Yep.
But that's not for a while, so you're going to have more time out there. I bet when I speak to you later in the political season, you're going to be even more specific, because you're going to really have been out there more with these guys.
Yeah, it's really all about the conversations that I have to have with our constituents and what it is that we all unanimously want to happen and how we can get there. So it's all going to be on the basis of what conversations have happened in the meantime. And there's going to be a lot, I'm sure.
Well, all you remember again, that no matter where you live in Maui County, if you want to vote for Stevie Kathryn Chung, and you'll find her in the in the Haiku,
Makawao
and Paia race, but right here in the primary, you won't even see the name on the ballot. I don't think.
I won't be there. I will be. I'll be playing hooky that day. So. Yeah.
But that's why we like doing these shows early, so you can see Stevie before we go on, because a lot of you want to reach out and get to know your candidates better and better, so you can approach them, and when things are happening, you've got someone that can talk for you and with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for doing this with me.
Of course.
It's been a pleasure.
Yes,
and thank you all for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
And is there any website or any kind of contact information
So I
you
got
wanna
a
give?
link tree and all of my socials. Under my socials, it's just Stevie Chung for Maui. Just no gaps, no punctuation, nothing. So if you want to find me on social media, you can find me through Meta on there. And then, messing around on Squarespace, I might get something started there website wise. So we'll see. But
Is
yeah.
there any email or anything, any numbers you want to
Oh
give
yeah,
to have people
absolutely.
contact
Yeah,
you?
so Stevie Kathryn Chung at protonmail.com. That is where everybody can reach me by. Super easy to reach out to.
And I'm going to
Also,
get the spelling and I'm going to put it on the screen so you'll see
sure,
it.
sure,
No
sure.
problem.
Awesome. Yeah.
And remember this, if you're not yet registered to vote, you still have time to register to vote in this election.
It
For
takes
sure for the November election.
It is less than a half hour to do on the computer. I promise you, it will be well worth it. And with only 25% of the people having voted in the primaries last election, it's really important that we have more voting power in order for our community to have their voices heard. We have 113,000 registered voters from last election, and only a quarter of them turn out for the primaries. That's insane.
So if you're registered, we hope that you'll come out and vote. And if you're not registered, we hope that you will register and come out and
Yes,
vote.
please.
Because
Please do.
we all need, like you say, how are we going to do for the community if the community is not being involved with us?
And they need to be involved.
They need to be involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stevie, thank you so very much. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
We'll do
working
this
with you
again.
too. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Thank you, guys.